It's one of those political moments that won't necessarily appear seismic at first glance, but when you strip away the layers, you see the stakes are actually much higher than they initially seem. For those who don't know, Andrew Whitfield is not a lightweight. A veteran member of the Democratic Alliance, he has consistently spoken out against ANC policy as a cat-and-fox suit while also being regarded as one of the more calculating and strategic brains in opposition ranks. His legislative record, particularly concerning security, policing and governance accountability issues, has gained him respect across party lines, even among some members of the ANC who resent him but secretly admire his acuity. His occupancy of office, especially in security or policing briefs, was seen as a rare but valuable instance of cross-party cooperation in the vein of South Africa's multi-party democracy. It was the sort of accommodation that demonstrated maturity that parties could at least theoretically set aside fractions for the higher good. His expulsion or marginalization was thus not merely a change in personnel. It was a symbolic break. And now with reinstatement talk in the air, the stakes have once again increased. Behind the scenes, DA leadership sources confirmed what many had already suspected. The party delivered a stern ultimatum to the presidency. It wasn't wrapped in flowery rhetoric or masked by diplomacy. It was direct, articulate and unyielding. Either President Cyril Ramaphosa starts to respect coalition promises and governance commitments, or the DA will reassess its collaborative approach in key national policymaking forums. At the heart of this ultimatum was one simple demand: return Andrew Whitfield. To the DA, it is not personalities but principle. They think that Whitfield's removal or marginalization was not only unjust but politically driven and a violation of the trust that must exist in any coalition or cross-party collaboration. For them, his removal belies the very reasoning for a cooperative government agreement. Why go through the motions, they say, if the rules are to be reconstituted in secret? But underlying this threat is a kinder message. The DA does not desire war. Public words reinforce an aspiration towards effective governance, not yet another draining cycle of political trench warfare. It is a combination of firmness and maturity, delineating a red line, but also reaching out a branch of olive. That is to say, we wish to cooperate with you, Mr. President, but respect is not up for negotiation. President Ramaphosa, though, is navigating one of the thinnest tidedrops of his political life. On the one side, he has to maintain the internal unity of the ANC, which has never been fully at ease with opposition leaders holding influential government positions. For many in the ruling party, Whitfield was a bridge too far, a DA voice in a room that has been traditionally dominated by ANC stalwarts. Conversely, Ramaphosa is painfully sensitive to the delicate balance that holds South Africa's government afloat. The DA's participation is not cosmetic. It is essential within several systems of governance where ANC hegemony has declined. This is where it gets complicated. Restoring Whitfield could be seen as a sign of surrender by some ANC hardliners who already see Ramaphosa as being too accommodative, too weak, and too ready to give in to the opposition. Not taking the DA ultimatum seriously, however, risks political deadlocks, particularly in areas such as policing, infrastructure, and economic development where DA-initiated projects have already indicated promise for South Africans. The question is straightforward. Will Ramaphosa gamble with a fracture to the DA in order to plate his base? Or will he rather maintain the coalition intact, even at the expense of annoying his own party's traditionalists? Ramaphosa's leadership style has habitually been defined by unobtrusive pragmatism, a measured and methodical pace, and an almost loyally talent for compromise. He is not an actor given to hasty steps or grand gestures. But this time his hand could be compelled not through preference but because he must. Behind the closed doors, the atmosphere is strained but no longer hostile. According to insiders near both sides, back-channel negotiations have been in motion for days. The DA's message is clear as crystal. They're not seeking favors. They're demanding respect and integrity in the coalition process. Interestingly, rumor mongers say the reinstatement, if it happens, might not be a straightforward reversal. It may be made subject to conditions or reorganization. Whitfield's position that he might be restored to could be altered either in its scope, in its authority, or in its reporting lines. It would enable Ramaphosa to save face among ANC hardliners while technically fulfilling the DA's demand. It's the sort of middle-of-the-road solution to which South African politics has become accustomed, a compromise within a concession calculated to satisfy both parties without either being able to claim victor status. But let there be no misunderstanding. This is not simply a personnel matter. This is a test for South Africa's young democracy. The question is not whether Andrew Whitfield himself goes back into office. It's whether opposition parties can actually cooperate when things are on the line and egos are at risk. Is it possible to prioritize governance over playing politics? Is it possible for people's needs to come before politicians' insecurities? South Africans are observing closely not only for the possibility of Whitfield's reinstatement, but for what it says about the maturity of their leadership. This moment is being made symbolic of something greater. The capacity or lack thereof of South Africa's divided political class to rule responsibly in an era of coalitions. In a way, this could be setting the stage for what's next. As the 2026 elections approach, each step is being held up to intense scrutiny, not only for its short-term effect, but for the precedent that it creates. If Ramaphosa gives in and manages to recall Whitfield, it will be seen as a moment of great unity, a welcome exception to the rivalry where collaboration won out. But if he resists and lets the ultimatum cause the collapse of relations, the threat of political fragmentation becomes even deeper. Consider what is at risk. A successful cooperative government could lead to wider constitutional change and more secure coalition government in the future. A collapse, however, would toss South Africa back into the very dysfunction and stagnation that voters are trying to avoid. As we hold our breath for word, whether Whitfield is reinstated, reorganized, or left in the cold, one thing is certain. What is decided in the coming weeks may have a lasting impact on the economic and political course of South Africa. It could mark the start of a new chapter where strategic alliances and wise leadership redefine governance. Or it might be the usual story where ego, party politics, and mistrust run the tenuous fabric of coalition government. Either way, this is a historic moment. Whether you're a DA, ANC, or none of the above supporter, it's a reminder that democracy isn't all about the ballot box. It's about what comes after the votes are tallied when it's time to govern.